Hi, I'm Roger Blake, and I want to thank you for joining us today, another one of our webinars. Today, for superintendents, risk managers, we plan to address the Civic Center Act and what we see as proliferation of community, club, and travel teams using our athletic facilities across the state in addition to our high school teams. And what we fear is a widespread abuse of the Civic Center Act, leaving school districts with a very large exposure. The Civic Center Act was passed back in 1917 to allow the community to have access to public facilities. It's been revised many times over the years with safeguards put in place primarily to protect the school district and limit the liability and the exposures that we have when an outside group comes in and uses our school facility. The Civic Center Act has created very defined lines that will separate a school-sanctioned event and a non-school event. What we are seeing and what we fear and believe is happening in schools across the state, many of our high school coaches are also involved in the community teams, the club teams, and the AAU travel ball teams. What we believe is happening is that they're using our school facilities and your school equipment, but they're not following the Civic Center Act, creating that separation between a school event and a community event. Let's take basketball as an easy illustration. The basketball season for high school sports in California is during the winter time. Yet we know, and you'll see often on your campuses in the fall and in the spring, there's competitions and games taking place with your high school kids and your high school coaches. This is allowed by our CIF rules, but only if it's through an outside organization. The CIF rules limit the season to the one time during the school year, with basketball being the winter. During the fall, during the spring, those competitions have to be through an outside organization, thus limiting your exposure and your liabilities. In the spring and fall, we often see baseball and softball taking place on our campuses. The same thing holds true. These competitions cannot be a school-sanctioned event. All these events taking place on our high school campuses and the kids involved, it is great for students, and it's absolutely perfect for our communities that we have our kids involved in these other activities going on. However, when they're using our school facilities and they're using your school equipment, you may not have the legal separation in place to protect your school district if the coaches have not followed the Civic Center Act. If they haven't created that paper trail, there isn't the separation of a school activity and a non-school activity, thus placing a liability, a direct liability, on the school district. Further, CIF rules limit, as we said before, to a school-sanctioned activity to one time a year, not all year long, one time a year. So as a superintendent risk manager, there's two specific questions that you need to be asking of your staff. Are our high school coaches using our school facilities all year long for their athletic teams? Most likely the answer is going to be yes. Then the second question, and the most important question, is when it's not the high school season of sport as defined by the CIF, have our coaches completed the paperwork involved with the Civic Center Act, including the proof of insurance from an outside organization, creating the proof for the school district that this is a separate entity? We've created that paper trail that this is not a school activity. Without that paper trail, not only do you have a possible CIF violation that could impact your school and community for postseason participation and play, but these coaches, they have also placed unknowingly the school district in a large legal and liability exposure, one that any superintendent and risk manager would never allow with an outside group coming on our campuses. Those two key questions are vital, but most important is the follow-up by your staff to ensure that the paper trail is in place so that we can show that we're minimizing the risk and exposure to our school districts when outside organizations are using our facilities, including our own coaches outside of the normal high school season of sport. I'm Roger Blake with the CIF, and I want to thank you for joining us today.